Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 24 of our Vanilla Minecraft series, and obviously I am out doing a little bit of sand collecting, nearly at another shulker box worth, I think. So I actually came out here because we're going to need a few double chests worth of sand today, I think. I haven't gotten the exact measurements for it figured out. Let's see, we only have one more shulker box to go. Good news. But I've been out here for a little while. My sand supplies were looking a little bit skimpy, so I think I'm up to about 20 double chests or so in backup reserves at this point, which I think that'll handle me for a little while, at least until I do another project like the mob farm that uses thousands and thousands of concrete and glass. But I figured I'd share this little behind-the-scenes moment with you, and I'm not sure you guys ever have seen my desert that I use for this, but there's quite a chunk of it that's nothing but sandstone now, as you can see. It's also next to my savanna that I use to get for dirt and if I need stone or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't think the environmental protection agencies would be too happy with me. Anyway, I am going to finish collecting the sand that I need. I'm just going to fill up the 6 shulker boxes that I have with me, and I'm going to take those back to the islands. I think that'll be enough for what we're doing today. We're working on a little bit of a beautification project on my islands. We're kind of continuing the process of making it more of a custom biome rather than something more vanilla. So I'm going to go ahead and finish collecting the sands, and I'll be back with you guys once we're over there and ready to get started on it. Okay, we're back on my island, and we have quite a lot of sand and quite a lot of cobble and stone at our disposal. And we're actually going to need a lot of other types of materials today as well, but this should be enough to get us started on phase 1 of the project we're doing today. So, as you can see, we're over here at our beach area, which, if you've been watching for a little while, you may recall we came over here one episode and kind of redid things, made them look a little bit more custom and a little more interesting. And in general, I think that worked out okay. But the beach area itself still isn't done. There's still a lot to be done over here because, well, until we redo the areas around the beach, we can't really finish the beach itself. And that's actually what we're doing today. We're going to work on one of the areas that is adjacent to the beach. But we're not going to be working up there. We're not going to be working over here. We're not even going to be working over here. No, we're going to be working down there, underwater, off the coast of our island. And the reason we're doing that is that the coasts of the islands are kind of boring. So if we head over here, for example, the vanilla terrain gen just kind of, at the edge of an island, it just drops it straight down like 15 blocks or so right into the ocean floor, and that's it. It's the only transition you get, and there's nothing else to it. Very, very boring. So I want to try and fix that, and I actually want to try and fix that across the entire islands over time. But today we're going to focus on the beach area and one kind of unique feature to it. More specifically, I want to try and put a coral reef out here. Now, that's probably going to turn out a little weird. I don't know how it's going to look. There's a lot of kind of problems that we're going to run into, and I'll talk with you guys a little bit more about those later on when we get to the actual kind of coral reef parts of the build. But before we do that, I want to get to the kind of basic terrain shaping. So along the entire beach area, I want to go through and just kind of expand the coastline out a little bit, make it drop down, kind of steep in some parts, slope down in others, just give it a bit of variance and make it look a lot more interesting as it slopes down continually towards the ocean floor. I don't know if we're going to go all the way down to the ocean floor today, but we'll see. And then once I have a good bit of this terrain shaped out and we have a lot of space to work with, then we'll get onto the coral reef and all of the stuff associated with that. So I'm going to go and get to that, and I'll be back with you guys in just a little bit. Alright, so here is our coral reef so far, or at least the landscape that will be kind of the base of our coral reef. I've been tweaking it a little bit since I initially finished it, trying to expand out certain parts and kind of reshape things and clean up the ocean floor a little bit, which I'm kind of afraid I'm going to have to do a lot of. I feel like eventually I'm going to want the entire ocean within my view to be nice looking, so not looking forward to that. But for right now, we'll focus on the coral reef specifically. So we have this cool shape kind of worked out. Got lots of different height variations and stuff because I didn't want it to just be a basic slope or anything like that. And we'll probably reshape it a bit as we go. There's certain areas that I think need a bit of tweaking. But in general, I think it's pretty good. It also gives us an opportunity to do something kind of interesting in the future because we have a lot of space down here in between the kind of outer edge and my actual islands, where we can do something or other, like make maybe a submerged cave system or something. Really like that. I have a cool idea for it, actually, but we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be a little while. Oh, God, where's my exit? Right here. There we go. So, with all of that being said, I think it's about time we work on the coral reef itself. Now, the coral reef itself is going to be kind of interesting. It might turn out a little bit derpy looking, and I don't think there's any real way to avoid that. Unfortunately, building things like... Hello, zombie. Not like a zombie. Unfortunately, building things like coral reefs, which in real life are super duper detailed, right? Every little spot that you look has tons of stuff going on. There's so much life and all kinds of stuff going on, and it doesn't really translate very well to Minecraft, right? Because we have to work with these big, bulky blocks. Now, if you're working on a custom map, something that can be hundreds and hundreds of blocks tall and wide and stuff like that, then you can work on really huge scales and it works out. But here, we can't really do that. We have a lot of limitations. And we also can't work with stuff like fences or slabs or anything that gives us smaller shapes to work with, because then we have the ugly water flowing texture on the sides, which kind of sucks. So I think things are going to be a little bit goofy looking, but it should turn out okay. At the very least, it should feel vaguely like a coral reef, and it'll put some interest in the area. So I think it's going to look okay. We'll see how it turns out. But before I get to that, well, I have a lot of resource gathering to do, because in order to make a coral reef, which is full of all kinds of vibrant colors and interesting shapes and stuff like that, well, you need a lot of different kinds of blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and try and set up a bunch of concrete, probably some terracotta, maybe some glazed terracotta. In fact, almost definitely some glazed terracotta. I think that could work out well for this and give me an excuse to finally use that block. I'm also going to want to grab some sponges, which I think that I raided an ocean monument at one point, kind of nearby. So I'm probably going to go and grab those, because obviously those will work very well for this. And yeah, I'll be back to you guys once I have all of the resources and we can start work on our coral reef. Okay, so here is our coral reef so far, at least the first pass of it, and I think it turned out okay, at least for what it is. It's definitely a little goofy looking, and obviously the corals and whatnot are kind of comically large, but again, it's Minecraft, we gotta work with what we got. But I think for a first pass, this is definitely okay. Lots of room for improvement. We have plenty of space to work with yet, and I'm probably going to tear some of the corals down, or at least redo them a bit. And obviously in the future, we're going to want to come in and expand this in certain directions and stuff like that as well. But I think for the time being, that is pretty good, at least for a start. It definitely took a lot more resources and time than I thought it was going to. Had to make a couple more trips to my mesa, in fact. But I think it was worth it. I think it's a cool addition to the island, especially the clam. I like the clam a lot. Anyway, actually, speaking of the clam and his light-emitting pearl, let's chug a night vision potion. I think I have one on me. That'll let us see things a little bit clearer, because it's kind of hard to see all the colors and whatnot when you don't have this on. So that's kind of what it looks like. Again, not perfect. We'll be modifying it a bit yet, but definitely a good start. Let's actually head on up to the surface, though, because I want to see what it looks like from up there, and I want to address another kind of problem we're going to have. So that's what it looks like from up here. A little messy looking. I didn't really plan it to be seen from up here, really. I was just kind of winging it when I was doing this, so I should probably think that a little bit more. But I actually think that's kind of cool now that I look at it a little bit more. I think as long as it gets, expanded out this way a little bit and filled in a little bit more, I think that could look decent. Obviously, it's really messy looking, but, I mean, it's a coral reef. What do you want, right? So, that looks okay. That's a decent start. I wish our clam was a little more visible. But there is kind of a problem, though. And that is, if we drink the milk that we have with us, and we remove the night vision effect, well, our coral reef doesn't really exist, right? We can't see it from up here. We can see a very faint glow from our clam, and we can see some little discoloration going on in the water. And, I mean, if you look really close, you can kind of see some stuff. But realistically, you can't really tell that it's there at all. And that's kind of a bummer, because that was a ton of effort, and we're still going to be working on it even more. So, that kind of sucks. Now, obviously, as you just saw, if you have a night vision potion on, you can see it. So, that gives us a decent solution. We just have to give ourselves night vision. But, well, I don't want to have to go and get a night vision potion every time I want to show someone the reef or come over here and just look at it myself or whatever. So, I think we're going to need another build to address that problem. Now, we're not going to be able to finish this today because it is going to take a lot of kind of designing and stuff like that, and I want it to look really cool, but I'm going to try and set up a mock-up for something that we can do in order to kind of help solve this problem, and it'll be kind of a contributor to some thematic stuff that we have going on the island as well. So I'm actually going to set up just a very, very basic kind of ugly example of what I want to do, and I'll bring you guys back in when I have that done, and I can explain what everything's going to kind of do in the end. Alright, so this is by no means representative of what it's actually going to look like, but just to give you a general idea of what I would like to do, I would like a cave somewhere nearby, and I think that this is kind of a good spot for it. And you're going to walk in, it'll probably wind around a little bit more or something like that. It's definitely not just going to be a square tube, don't worry. But you're going to walk in, and at the back of this cave, however long it may be, there's going to be a shrine, or an altar, or an obelisk, or something that is meant to represent the god that looks over the ocean. Whoever that happens to end up being. Still a little undecided on that. But basically, there's going to be this shrine in the back, and the idea is that you're going to walk up to it, you're going to kind of stand in front of it for a set amount of time, kind of pray to the shrine for like 10 seconds or so. And then once that time is up, after you've successfully prayed long enough, you get splashed with night vision, and you get the full duration of it. And then, well, looky here, you get to see the entire coral reef and whatnot. And we may even bundle that in. We may try and get you with like water breathing at the same time so you can really dive in and do stuff. That's probably a good idea. But yeah, that's kind of the general thought. Now, obviously, there's a lot that's going to go into that, so there's a lot more detail and stuff to it. For example, I'm not entirely sure what we're doing with the god aspect of that. I've been on the fence about that for a long time, because I want these people to have either one or two main deities. And the water, being that they're an island civilization, is kind of the main thing. So I'm kind of torn between either having a moon goddess that represents the moon and looks over the ocean, because, tides and whatnot, obviously, or having a moon goddess and a separate god of the ocean, someone like a Neptune or a Poseidon type guy, and have kind of a duality, like a yin and yang relationship between the two. I don't really know which one I want to go for. It's going to be an important thing to decide on. So if you guys have feedback on that, let me know, because we're going to actually have some pretty large scale builds that are related to those two, or the one, or whatever route we decide to go with that. So kind of an important decision. Hopefully I can figure that out. But that's the concept of what I want to do over here. Now, I'm still not entirely set on whether it's going to be a statue in the back or an obelisk or whatever, nor am I entirely set on how it's going to work. Like, currently we have this tripwire, which I'm going to break for the time being. But unfortunately, that's just kind of ugly. It really doesn't look very good. So instead I would like to have, a pressure plate on the floor that you'd step on. Though that does make the system quite a bit more complicated, because it means that we can't just have the dispenser underneath the block that the player is standing on. Otherwise it'll get triggered automatically, which is not what we want. And unfortunately there's no real way around that either. So if we go with a pressure plate, we're going to have to make the dispenser either come from the ceiling, like the ceiling can open up and the potions can shoot out, or we can make it so they shoot out of whatever the player is kind of praying to, which is another interesting option. So one or the other, I'm not entirely sure which. Kind of a shame, though, because having the potion come up through the floor definitely works the best. We just can't do it with pressure plates. Kind of sucks. But yeah, that's the idea. Hopefully we can get to that relatively soon, because I'm kind of hyped for that, actually. I really want to start working on some more of the kind of deity and god stuff here on the islands. I think that's going to lead to a lot of really cool projects, especially one in the middle area of the island. Anyway, that's going to do it for today, I think, because I spent a kind of obnoxious amount of time dealing with the coral reef and everything associated with it. Lots of time spent resource gathering and trying to figure out how to build coral reef stuff in Minecraft. Even though it doesn't look particularly complicated, it went through a lot of iterations. So that being said, I think we're going to call it here for today. Next time, we will probably be back at Limelands, because I really want to work on the zombie game yet. But I think that this was a nice break, getting back to some kind of larger scale building and stuff that's a little more, visual, rather than the slow technical stuff. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed our coral reef project so far. We will be returning to it in the future and making it look even nicer and more interesting. And yeah, that'll do for today. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.